Kenya's transport sector is in uproar over the country's highest gasoline price increase in 10 years. In protest, various leaders in the sector are reported to have on social media threatened mass action. Kenya's gasoline prices shot up by 6% this week, while diesel went up 7.4%. The price of kerosene, which is used by many across the country for cooking, rose by 13%. According to reports, the increases came after authorities decided to not tap into a fund meant to keep fuel prices stable. They also come on the back of a weakening shilling against the dollar and an economy already battered by the coronavirus. Economists say fuel price increases contribute significantly to inflation. For more on this, we're joined by Eugene Ngumi, economist and senior consultant at Africa Practice, which is based here in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much for joining us, Eugene. Eugene, Kenya has raised the cost of gasoline to the highest in 10 years. What are the reasons behind this sharp increase?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. And there are three main reasons behind the increase. The first is that global fuel prices have risen as the global economy recovers from the coronavirus pandemic. Second is taxes and levies. There are currently 7 levies and 2 taxes on Kenyan fuel, which make up for about 50% of the actual cost of fuel at the pump for consumers. So there's a significant amount of taxes and levies that increase prices for consumers in Kenya. And the third is what you just mentioned, the Fuel Price Stabilization Fund, which had been used for the last 2 months to cushion consumers from price rises. But essentially what's happened is that the money in the fund is running low, and they were not able to sustain this for any significant amount of time longer. So what we're seeing is a price rise that had been delayed for 2 months finally coming into action.
Eugene, what are the likely implications on the economy and to Kenyans on the whole who are still reeling from the effects of the coronavirus?
So the biggest impact will be inflationary rises across the board. Fuel is a critical input for farming, for cooking, lighting, electricity production, and the rise in the cost of fuel will see increases for all of those. Not to mention the transport costs of goods and people. Kenya is already experiencing highs in inflation. We recently hit an 11-month high in inflation. So across the board, you'll see inflation rises, which will put more pressure on incomes across the country, which have been severely impacted by the pandemic, with people losing jobs and with incomes being reduced due to the pandemic. This will add more pressure on people's wallets, and you're very likely to see more calls for strikes and mass action, and more calls for government to take action and reduce some of the pressures and costs of living.
Thank you so much for all that, Eugene. Eugene Ngumi, economist and senior consultant at Africa Practice, and is based right here in Nairobi, Kenya.